phone in there in case there's a phone
That'd
call.
be great.
Legally and officially, we don't have to have a quorum once it's established, right?
So, we need to have a quorum if we're, to start the meeting and if we're voting on anything. If a supervisor is recusing him or herself from a particular topic, but they're still present to be counted as part of the quorum, or within the quorum.
It's probably just gray enough, Al, where I don't think we'll want to wait for Jacob. You know,
It's fine.
I'm assuming Al's gonna recuse himself, so what,
Yeah.
does that mean he leaves the room, goes in the audience?
I don't think he has to leave the room, he just can't participate.
except as
Except as,
he can represent
Property
himself
owner.
in
Yeah.
the debate, but not the board.
yep.
So, yeah.
Okay, I've seen various things done, it's all interesting, so, but,
All right. Well,
okay.
we'll handle that if and when we need to, unless Jacob is real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do have enough for a quorum
All
to
right.
start.
We're gonna wait. Like making action.
And isn't this so that people that are choosing to speak that they
All
will
I do is cover the education session,
additional
close the meeting.
information?
It's an information meeting only at that point. Yes, that you just leaving Sean at about 1:45.
All right, I'm just
Depending on
pulling
where
up
in Sean we are, it's 30 to
agenda,
50 minutes.
and then we will kick her off here.
Well, we do have quorum right now. We can start out with recusals, just can't do the last one.
That's fine, I will just get it to here. So everyone, just one more moment and we will get kicked off here. All right. Okay, for clarity, I'm going to remove this a second. And before I call to order, can you just clarify which of our supervisors are participating remotely?
Sure, let's see. We have Bill Conway remotely and Supervisor Oberbeck.
All right, so we have established we have quorum. Therefore, I will call to order the Marathon County Environmental Resources Committee meeting for October of 2021. The first item on the agenda is our public comment period.
This meeting is being recorded.
Looking at the public comment sign-up sheet, it appears that we only have individuals signed up to speak to the public hearing items, so we will call those individuals when we get to the appropriate part of the meeting. So with that being said, the next item on the agenda is our approval of the August 31st, 2021 committee minutes. We have a motion to approve by Supervisor Seefeld and a second by Supervisor Drabeck. Any questions, comments, or corrections to the minutes as they were presented in the packet? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the August 31st, 2021 ERC committee meeting minutes as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion stands as approved. We will now move forward into item 4, operational functions as required by statute, ordinance, or resolution. Item 4A is our public hearings for review and possible action and possible recommendation to the county board for its consideration. So, Before we get into the 4 items listed for our public hearing, I will be reading our rules for public hearing. So please, for those of you that have heard this before, bear with me, but for those of you that haven't, this is the information that helps to get us through our public hearings in a professional and efficient manner. So first, I'd like to remind everyone to please mute your phone if you are calling in, and also if you are here in the room, it is a good idea to make sure it is on silent. The Marathon County Environmental Resources Committee, the ERC, is now meeting in public hearing on the location plans, specifications, and purpose for the following 4 projects. Item 1, Tim Weiland on behalf of Chad and Jenny Stieber, General Ag to Rural Estate in the town of Rib Falls. Item 2 will be Nafe Farm, Herbert and Sherry Nafe, going from General Ag to Low Density Residential and Low Density Residential to General Ag in the town of Hewitt. Item 3 will be Lauren Weiland, General Ag to Rural Estate in the town of Frankfurt. And item 4 will be Tim Weiland on behalf of Alan and Diane Drabeck, Rural Residential to Low Density Residential. I would like to introduce the members of the committee. I am Sarah Gill, the vice chair. At some point during the meeting, we do expect that our chair, Jake Langenhahn, will be arriving, but he was delayed at a different meeting. So when he arrives, he will take over chairing the committee. We have Supervisor Bill Conway joining us remotely. We have Supervisor Rick Seefeld and Supervisor Alan Drabeck here in the room. And we also have Supervisor Dave Oberbeck joining us remotely. Has any other supervisors or committee members joined us since we started the meeting? All right. Also present, we have Paul Daigle, our county conservationist. We have Lori Miskimmons, our ERC director. Dominique Swangstu, our zoning administrator. Cindy Krager, our administrative coordinator. And Preston Van Voort, our GIS specialist. Remotely.
He's on, yeah, he's
Okay.
on the webcast,
Let's say I thought, yeah. All right, so that is who is present representing the county for this meeting. The establishment of the ERC committee is required by law for purposes of administration of county ordinances and land conservation programs. This committee must follow state laws and local ordinances as written. The committee cannot change or ignore any part of the ordinances or state laws, but must apply the laws as written. The purpose of this committee is to hear and decide on proposed ordinances and ordinance revisions, rezoning petitions, and provide direction on land conservation and planning programs. The ERC committee will give a full and fair hearing to any person applying for a rezone petition. A taped recording is being made of the meeting, which will assist with preparation of written hearing minutes. The committee is interested in hearing all pertinent comments and questions. Each hearing will be opened by reading the public notice and allowing staff to present a staff report, including evidence from any on-site inspection. The applicant and anyone wishing to testify will then be sworn in and allowed to give testimony. Witnesses, or those wishing to speak, will be called in the order first of those in favor, then of those opposed to the proposal, and finally, third, as interested may appear. The committee may ask questions of the zoning staff and the applicant. It is necessary that we set a reasonable time limit on individual statements and on the overall length of the hearing. To promote orderly discussion, anyone wishing to present oral testimony or ask questions related to the hearing will be asked to state their name and their address and present their testimony or questions so it becomes part of the official record. We do ask that you avoid repetition, so if someone speaks before you and has already encompassed everything you were going to say, it is sufficient to say that you concur with that person's statements. Once the committee has all of the necessary facts, the chairman will close the hearing, allowing no further testimony. The committee will then deliberate and decide in front of the public whether the applicant has met the standards in the ordinance. No additional testimony from the public is allowed during the deliberation. However, the committee may question staff for purposes of clarification. After a decision is made, the committee will proceed to the next hearing. Many of the decisions made by the committee are a recommendation to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. They will take up the matter at a future county board meeting. Please contact the staff for more information regarding this county board process. So we will now move forward into the first item on the public hearing. So the committee will now hear the application of item 4A1, Tim Weiland on behalf of Chad and Jenny Stieber, General Ag to Rural Estate in the town of Rib Falls. So for our staff report, we have Dominique Swingstu. Sir, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Please share your report with us.
Oh, that's probably a little better. Just give me 1 second here. All right, so as previously indicated, this is a rezone petition by the Steibers to rezone property in the town of Rib Falls from general agricultural to rural estate. The property in question is located on the southeastern corner of the town, just north of County Highway 29 here. Existing zoning district map. Adjacent parcels are predominantly zoned general agricultural and low-density residential. The other parcel in question is located within the Highway Overlay District, which essentially restricts access onto State Highway 29. Moving down to the generalized existing land use land cover map for the town of Rib Falls. The area in question proposed to be rezoned is shown as partially single-family residential and woodland land uses in the plan. For the future land use map, and from 2005 here, the area proposed to be rezoned is also shown as single-family residential and woodland land uses in the plan. Farmland preservation, the area was not designated as a farmland preservation area in the plan. Significant parcel limitations or natural features. There are some DNR mapped wetlands as well as some shoreland areas and shoreland overlay for the area proposed to be rezoned. Therefore, shoreland jurisdiction and regulations would apply in this instance. As you can see on the screen, this is the preliminary certified survey map that was supplied as a part of the rezone petition. Lot 1 is the only area proposed to be rezoned. Moving down to the aerial photo. The red dotted line that indicates the approximate location and configuration of the parcel in question. And then to the town recommendation. On September 7th, 2021, the Town of Rib Falls Town Board recommended approval to the Marathon County Environmental Resources Committee, and they did not have any additional comments or concerns. And similarly to what we did at our last meeting with several rezones, with the staff comments regarding ERC conclusions of law, given all of this information was included in the packet, I will just kind of pass by it, and if the committee members have any questions on any of the answers or questions, feel free to let us know. All right, and finally, for the staff recommendation, it appears that the rezone meets all of the zoning district standards as it relates to size, frontage, and access. If approved, the Town of Rib Falls should update their comprehensive plan to reflect the proposed rezone. The future and existing land use maps already partially reflect the rezone in question, yet should be revised to include the whole area. So based on the information provided above, findings of fact, conclusions of law, as well as the town's recommendation, CPC staff recommend that the Environmental Resources Committee recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. And that concludes the staff report.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions from committee members on the staff report as has been presented? Hearing and seeing none, we can move forward into the public discussion. So as mentioned previously, First, we are looking for anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this request. I do see that on our sign-in sheet for speaking, we do have 2 individuals listed here. Lorton Stieber. All right, sir, would you like to speak at this time? If I could have you grab the microphone there, that makes it so that it picks up for the recording and those joining us remotely. First, can you please just state for the record your name and address?
Lorton Stever, address is 228835 Marble Falls Road, Marathon, Wisconsin, town of Rip Falls.
Thank you, and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may proceed with your comments.
Okay, this parcel of land is, we'd be purchasing from Chad and Jenny to build a storage building with a small workshop in it. And for many years, our equipment's been sitting outside and it needs work. And with the storage building, we can get stuff under the roof and store it and try to preserve it. And the workshop is to, bring it back up to where it should be. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the representative? Not hearing any. I do also show Carol is listed. It says on here not necessarily to speak. Do you wish to speak? All right. Then is there anyone else present who wishes to speak in favor of this rezone petition? I'll ask one more time. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the rezone petition? Hearing none, we'll move forward. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this rezone petition? Anyone looking to speak in opposition to the rezone? And finally, is there anyone wishing to speak as interested may appear for general comments related to the rezone? Anyone looking to speak as interested in the rezone? All right, one final call. Is there anyone wishing to speak for or against this rezone petition? Okay, hearing no one else interested in speaking on this application, I will now declare the public hearing on Tim Breland on behalf of Chad and Jenny Stieber for General Ag Rural Estate in the town of Rib Falls to be closed. So we will not accept any more public comment, but the committee will now deliberate on the application and apply the standards of the zoning ordinance. Committee members, are there any questions, comments, or clarifications related to this item? Otherwise, if not, this is an item looking for a motion. You may need to hit the button to take it off mute.
Working now? That help?
There we go.
Yeah, I would just say that I would move to approve the rezone of Chad and Jenny Stieber, noting the reasoning provided by the staff report and the conclusions of law, and the rezone is consistent with Marathon County and the town's comprehensive plans.
And thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second? Supervisor Seefeld has seconded. One final call for any questions or comments related to this motion on the floor? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. It is approved. So it will now move forward to the Marathon County Board for final recommendation. And with that, we will move on to the next item on here and open up the public hearing for 4A, Nafe Farm, Herbert and Sherry Nafe, from General Ag and Low Density Residential to Low Density Residential and General Ag in the town of Hewitt. So we will start with the staff report. And you remain sworn in from the earlier, so I pass it off to you, sir.
Thank you. So as previously stated, this is a rezone in the town of Hewitt to rezone lands. I apologize again, there's a slight lag on the screen I'm looking at. So the rezoning lands, essentially swapping the zoning districts of property, one from GA to LDR and one from LDR to GA. And as you can see here on the plat map, the parcel in question is located on the northwestern corner of the town of Hewitt. The existing zoning district map, adjacent parcels are predominantly zoned general agricultural, shown in white, as well as there are a few residentially zoned parcels within close proximity. In both the town's existing land use as well as the future land use map, the area in question is shown as partially residential, partially woodland, and cropland. In both of those maps, it appears that both maps are nearly identical when it comes to the classification of this area. Farmland Preservation Plan. The area in question was designated as a farmland preservation area in the plan, yet the town of Hewitt does not participate in farmland preservation zoning. Therefore, there are no parcels within the town that are zoned farmland preservation. Significant parcel limitations or natural features. There are no DNR mapped wetlands, shoreline overlay areas, or FEMA mapped floodplain areas. As you can see here, the preliminary certified survey map, you'll see part of Lot 1 is going to be rezoned from General Ag to LDR, and then this outlot shown down about approximately 0.414 acres will be rezoned from LDR to GA. And then just an aerial photo of the parcels in question, and then some comments on there to kind of clarify exactly what is being rezoned to what. So the area, again, shown in green, is going from GA to LDR, and the area shown in yellow is going from LDR to GA. On September 13th, the Town of Hewitt Town Board recommended approval to the Marathon County Environmental Resources Committee, and they did not have any additional comments or concerns. And again, with the staff comments regarding the ERC conclusions of law, we'll kind of skip through that, given it was included in the packet. If anyone has any questions on those answers, feel free to let us know. All right, moving down to the ERC, or the CPC recommendations. Based on the information provided above, findings of fact, conclusions of law, as well as the town's recommendation, it appears the rezone request meets all of the rezone criteria. Therefore, CPC staff recommend that the Environmental Resources Committee recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. And that concludes the staff report.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions from the committee for staff on the report that he just provided us? All right, hearing and seeing none, we will move forward into the public comments. So I do not have anyone registered here for making a public comment, but if there is anybody who wishes to speak in favor of this request, please let me know. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this proposal? One more time, anyone wishing to speak in favor? Hearing and seeing none, is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this request? Anyone looking to speak in opposition to this request? Hearing and seeing none. Finally, is there anyone wishing to speak as interested to give general comments on this application? Anyone looking to speak as interested to give general comments on this application? All right, one final call. Is there anyone who wishes to speak for the application on Nafe Farms? Hearing and seeing no one, I will then move forward with declaring the public hearing on item 4A2, Nafe Farm with Herbert and Sherry Nafe in the town of Hewitt to be closed. The committee will now deliberate on the application and apply the standards of the zoning ordinance. Are there any comments or questions from committee members on this item? Any comments or questions? Otherwise, I would accept a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve Knaff Farms of Herbert and Sherry Knaff. I think I'm pronouncing that right. How?
Neff, I apologize.
Okay, from general ag to low density, and then from low density to general ag in the town of Hewitt, and to approve the conclusions of law and move it to the county board.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second? We have a second from Supervisor Drabeck. One final call for any questions or comments on the motion on the floor. All right, hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the recommendation for this application, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This will move forward to the county board. And we will move on to item 4A3 for Lauren Weiland, General Agriculture to Rural Estate in the town of Frankfurt. And first, we will go with our staff report.
Alrighty. Thank you, Vice Chair. So this is a rezone petition by Lauren Weiland to rezone lands in the town of Frankfurt, located on the central west portion of the town. Existing zoning district map, the adjacent parcels are zoned general agricultural with a large number of rural estate zone parcels within close proximity, and there are some other residentially zoned parcels as well in the area. So as a part of this rezone, it's going to be rezoning part of the existing lot. So currently this parcel is split zone, so it has two different zoning classifications. So as a part of the existing parent parcel, approximately 6 acres will be rezoned from general ag to rural estate. Let's move down here to the future land use map. So the area in question is partially shown as other agriculture and single-family residential, as well as cropland uses in the future land use map. The area in question was designated as a farmland preservation area, yet similar to the town of Hewitt, the town of Frankfurt does not participate in farmland preservation zoning. Therefore, there are no parcels zoned farmland preservation in the town. Specific parcel limitations or natural features. The parcel in question has no DNR mapped wetlands, yet is completely covered within the shoreline overlay from a nearby pond. And with that pond, the navigability is unknown, but there are also no DNR or no FEMA mapped floodplain areas on the parcel in question. So this is the existing certified survey map that's associated with the parcel. You'll see some faint lines here that indicates where the previous parcel was. So these parcels at some point were combined, and that's what resulted in the split zoning on this lot. Then as a part of this, just some supplemental information. They plan to split this parcel in the future when and if this rezone is approved. Aerial photo of the property. Town recommendation on September 13th, the town of Frankfurt Town Board recommended approval to the Marathon County Environmental Resources Committee, and they did not have any comments or concerns in regards to this petition. I will scroll past the staff comments regarding ERC conclusions of law. And again, if there are any questions by the committee members, feel free to let us know. And then based on the information provided above, findings of fact, conclusions of law, as well as the town's recommendation/resolution, it appears the rezone request meets all of the rezone criteria. Therefore, CPC staff recommend that the Environmental Resources Committee recommend approval to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors. And that concludes the staff report.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions from committee members for the staff on this report? All right, hearing and seeing none, we will move forward into public comments. And so I do have one person that is on the list for this item. So Chris Schumacher, would you like to speak? I know there was an option. Okay, so we do, so then I will just do a general call out. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this request? Again, anyone looking to speak in favor of this request? One more time, anyone wishing to speak in favor? All right, hearing and seeing none. Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this item? Anyone looking to speak in opposition to item 3? Hearing and seeing none. Anyone looking to speak as interested for general comment? Anyone looking to speak as interested in this item for general comment? Okay, and one final call. Anyone looking to speak on item 4A3, Lauren Weiland, General Ag to Rural Estate in the town of Frankfurt? Hearing and seeing none, I will declare the public hearing on the, 4A3 closed. The committee can now deliberate on the application and apply the standards of the zoning ordinance. Committee members, are there any questions, comments, or motions related to this item that you wish to bring forward? Questions, comments, motions?
This is working. Okay, I would make a motion to approve this, noting that of the reasoning that was given here of, let's see, of Lauren Weiland to, so let me back up here. So I would make a motion that we rezone or move to approve the rezone of Lauren Weiland because of what was written in the staff report and also conclusions of law and in the town's plans. I think that this could be approved. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion to approve the proposal and a second from Supervisor Seefeld. Any questions or comments on the motion to recommend approval that is on the floor? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor of the motion to recommend approval, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, so then we are moving on to item 4A4. Now, before we move into this one, do we have any updates on if any other members of the committee are able to join us?
We do. From my understanding, we have a supervisor joining us, and just several minutes he'll be here. So.
Okay.
So I think if we wait, he'll be less than a couple minutes.
So we have a bit of a unique situation for those of us that are joining us. This particular request does involve one of the members of our committee, which means that committee member will be recusing themselves from the voting quorum. And because we're a little tight on attendance today, we do need one more individual to join us in order to have a fully transparent vote on this particular item. So Corporation Counsel, what is the most appropriate way for us to put a hold on this until we have the other supervisor join us?
At the discretion of the chair, you could move on to another item in the agenda and then move back to this if you wished to do that.
Okay, so we don't have to do any formal movement in order to put it on hold or anything? My discretion then is that we are going to take a pause on this item until we are joined. So the public hearing technically remains open at this time, but we are going to move forward on to the next item of our agenda until we are joined by one additional member that will then ensure we have a quorum for this committee. So that we are going to move forward to item 4B, under review and possible recommendations to county board for its consideration, town zoning changes. 4B1, the town of Texas. And I will look to staff to give us some background on this particular item.
All right. So as many of you may be aware, the town of Texas is not under or covered under county zoning, but based on statute, it is required that their approval or any consideration made for a text amendments to their zoning ordinance or their zoning district map, it has to go through county board. And based on Marathon County's policies and procedures, the ERC is the first committee to hear it before going to county board. So that being said, I don't have any additional information to provide beyond what was included in the packet. All of the information was included in there, such as the minutes, the resolution, et cetera. If there are any specific questions, I would recommend holding off and reaching out to the town of Texas, given it is town zoned.
All right, so just to be clear, today we are looking for a recommendation out of this committee
Correct.
to move this forward to the county board.
Correct.
So, but if there are any concerns, then we would want to hold off on that. So, with that being said, we did receive all of the information in writing ahead of time. Are there any questions or comments from our committee members related to this town zoning item for the town of Texas? I believe that most of us are still scrolling to find that in there and make sure, so give us just a moment, please. It is a large packet today. All right, so now that we've had a few minutes or a moment to take a look, are there any questions on this item from committee members, either in the room or on the phone? Otherwise, if you are comfortable with it, we would be looking for a motion to make a recommendation to the county board for considering the town of Texas zoning request.
Supervisor Overbeck will make the recommendation to the county board for this zoning change.
Thank you, Supervisor Overbeck. Is there a second? We have
Supervisor
a second.
Conway, a second.
Supervisor Conway will give you the second on that. Thank you. One more call. Any questions or comments or concerns on this recommendation? Otherwise, hearing none, all in favor of the motion to recommend approval for this towning change and moving it forward to the county board, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. And so with that, we have been joined by another supervisor. So with that being said, I think we will go back one item to item 4A4. And I am assuming, Supervisor Langenhan, that you would like me to continue with chairing this at the moment?
Yes, please.
All right. I will take it through this, this item then. So prior to starting this, Supervisor Drabeck, would you like to make any statements?
Oh, yeah, I'd like to recuse myself, thanks.
All right. So for item 4A4, Supervisor Drabeck is recused from being part of the committee and the voting quorum and is now a member of the public for the purposes of this item. So with that being done, we will move on to our staff report. And Dom, you remain sworn in from our earlier session, so the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So this is a rezone by Alan and Diane Drabeck to rezone the lands in the town of Frankfurt. The property in question is located near the northeastern corner of the town of Frankfurt itself on Cheswick Road. Existing zoning district, existing zoning district map. The adjacent parcels are predominantly zoned general agricultural with a few rural estate zone parcel or rural residential zone parcels within close proximity, but the vast majority are zoned general agricultural. apologize again. The screen's a little jumpy in front of me here, so I'll have to utilize this one over here. All right. So the existing generalized land use and land cover map from the town of Frankfurt's comprehensive plan. The area proposed to be rezoned is shown as partially, as I guess the vast majority, as single-family residential with a small portion of woodland land uses in their existing land use map. Adjacent land uses are comprised of similar uses such as cropland, single-family residential, vacant, and woodland. Future land use map from the recently updated town comprehensive plan from 2018. The area proposed to be rezoned is shown again as single-family residential in the future land use map. Adjacent parcels are also comprised of similar uses. Farmland preservation, the area was designated as the farmland preservation area, yet the town of Frankfurt does not participate in farmland preservation zoning. Significant parcel limitations or natural features. It may be a little difficult to see on the screen here, but there are no DNR mapped wetlands, no FEMA floodplains, nor any shoreline overlay areas. On the screen now is the preliminary certified survey map that was supplied as a part of the rezone petition, showing the area in question proposed to be rezoned, which is shown as Lot 1, 1.454 acres in size. And again, an aerial photo here. And the red dashed lines, those are approximate, so I would recommend reviewing and taking a look at the preliminary certified survey map if you have questions on specific dimensions or configurations. Moving down to the town resolution here. So this was included, and I'll kind of get to this toward the end here. I included the entire resolution. Given the town, oh, there we are. Sorry about this. I'll just have to skip back here a little bit. So the town resolution that was supplied from the town board meeting on September 22nd, 2021, the town of Frankfurt town board recommended disapproval of the rezone in question. And again, I had included several sections of their actual resolution here. But the two things I wanted to read were the last two questions, question 10 and 11. So the question is the proposed rezone request consistent with the town's comprehensive plan, and explain? And the town had noted no, stating the comprehensive plan states all land under acreage amount grandfathered in or will have to be 2 acres, and they cite 21.6A. And I did take a look, and that's not necessarily in the zoning code, but I would assume that is something that's referenced in the comprehensive plan. And I know we do have the town chairman here, so if there's any additional questions or anything like that in regards to that comprehensive plan or this resolution, that might be a good contact for questions. So 11, is there anything the town wishes to present or comment on regarding the application to the Marathon County Environmental Resources Committee? The town had noted yes and stated the town of Frankfurt discourages low-density zoning in the township. And below that, I did pull some reference sections from the town's comprehensive plan. I didn't necessarily find anything that noted or alluded to a minimum acreage. Yet in the time that the staff report was completed and the hearing that we are in right now, there was some additional information that was provided. So we did essentially find that the town appears to have a land division ordinance, and within that ordinance there was several revisions that were done in the past few years. So in the previous ordinance, there was a 2.5 acre minimum, and then on the back of that ordinance, there was a amendment to the document stating a 2 acre minimum. There appears that there is a 2 acre minimum for the town, but that is something that we are still kind of touching base with the county surveyor about, just to ensure it was adopted correctly, and we do have the revised land division ordinance. All right, and given the recommendation was for disapproval, I'll go through some of these questions here briefly and the staff comments regarding ERC conclusions of law. All right, so the area proposed to be rezoned is shown as single-family residential in the town's future land use map. CPC staff rely on the towns to make these recommendations, given the town board members as well as residents know their town as well as the true purpose and intent of the plan. Yet there is a reference to a minimum acreage in the town of Frankfurt. And again, since this staff report was created, we did get some more information. CPC staff were at this time unable to confirm if there was an active land division ordinance for the town or not, and that excludes the county-wide county land division ordinance. Additionally, as alluded to before, the staff were unable to locate a reference to a minimum lot size in the town's comprehensive plan from 2018. I did take a look at their previous plan from, I believe it was 2005 or 6, and there was a reference to a minimum acreage, but it sounds like there was some changes since the original plan and this updated one. The rezone is consistent with the future land use map in the town, but yet does not meet the minimum lot size. It appears that it appears from the town resolution that the rezone meets the criteria, yet it does not meet the consistency with the comprehensive plan, stating again that the comprehensive plan states all under acreage amounts are grandfathered in, and any new parcels essentially would have to be 2 acres in size. The area in question, again, was designated as a farmland preservation area, yet it does not, or the town of Frankfurt does not participate in farmland preservation zoning. There is no active cropland that will be converted as a result of this rezone. The need related to this proposed development or rezone is to parcel off the existing home for future development or construction of a home on the other remnant parcel. As for all rezones, all federal, state, and local permits and approvals are required for any applicable development on site. And the town of Frankfurt has recommended disapproval of the rezone in question. But besides the concerns that were brought up by the town, the county was not made aware of any other concerns from other agencies. So given this is a relatively rare occurrence, when we do have a resolution from a town for disapproval for a rezone, I wanted to ensure we did have the statute pulled up in regards to these rezones and the committee's authority moving forward with a recommendation to the full board. So if a town board of a town affected by, in a case of an ordinance relating to the location of boundaries or of districts, files such a resolution, again, of disapproval, or the town boards of the majority of the towns affected in the case of any other amendatory ordinances file such resolutions, the agency may not recommend approval of the petition without change, but may only recommend approval with change or recommend disapproval. So again, I know we had I think 2 cases in the last few years where we did receive a resolution of disapproval from a town. So there are some options, but the one thing that is clear is that the committee at this point cannot recommend approval as the application was submitted. All right, so moving down to the CPC staff recommendations. So the rezone meets all the rezone district or the zoning district standards as it relates to size, frontage, access, and dimension. The future and existing land use maps already reflect the rezone in question, consistently shown as single-family residential in the future land use map in 2018. Based on the information above, findings of fact, and conclusions of law, it appears the rezone request meets all of the rezone criteria and standards for rezoning, while taking into consideration WSTAT 59.695E3. CPC staff recommend that the Environmental Resources Committee either recommend approval with change to the Marathon County Board of Supervisors or postpone the determination until the applicant and town have time to discuss available alternatives and options. A change to the zoning district, parcel size, parcel configurations, etc., could constitute a change which could be included in a motion to recommend approval with change. All things considered, and given the town has already filed a resolution of disapproval, CPC staff recommend that the Environmental Resources Committee postpone their determination until the next scheduled meeting to give the applicants, county, and town time to meet and discuss possible changes to the request, specifically as it relates to the reference to the minimum lot size in the town of Frankfurt. Staff will reach out to the town to definitively, again, this was written before we talked with the town, but the staff will reach out to the town to definitively identify if there is indeed a town land division ordinance active within the town of Frankfurt that establishes a 2-acre minimum. So essentially that concludes the staff report, but I understand, given there was some changes in the information we had at our disposal from the time that this staff report was created and this meeting, I'm assuming there might be some questions.
All right, thank you. Questions from committee members? Any questions for staff from our committee members? Supervisor Langenhan.
Supervisor Conway? Oh, sorry.
Supervisor Langenhan first, and then was that Supervisor Oberbeck will be next? All right. Oh, Conway, sorry.
Thank you, Chair. So.
Yeah, to get. They have like a 5-second.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll wait for Dom to get back up to the. So Dom, I want to go back to the last page of the staff report when you talk about the statute. And you had said that we can't recommend approval as is. Is that what I'm hearing, or am I reading that incorrectly?
Correct. So based on the statute, the committee cannot recommend approval, but only approval with some form of change or disapproval.
Thank you.
All right, Supervisor Conway.
Yes, you said the town president was, I was just wondering what, or why is the town discouraging low density residential as opposed to rural residential?
So-
A specific reason for that.
So right now, staff is the only one who can respond, but I would anticipate that once we get into public comments, we'll be able to get a response to that question at that time. But staff, do you have any insight into that to share right now?
Nope, I would essentially just refer to the town chairman in regards to the reasoning behind that minimum acreage or the discouraging of low-density residential. Yeah, I guess I'll just defer to his judgment.
Okay. So are there any other questions for staff at this time before we move into public comment? Okay, hearing none, then again, as a reminder, the process is that we have those in favor, then opposed, then as interested. Oh, Supervisor Langenhan, you had a statement?
This is just a quick point of order. Given that the applicant is among us right now, and I would even turn to Corporation Counsel, who is left, actually, but I believe there's an Attorney General opinion when it comes to these types of situations where actually the applicant should be sitting away from the group here and probably sitting with the rest of the public, just to make sure that there's no bias here. So with respect to Supervisor
Want to take
Drayback-
a hop back one row, Alan?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, fair
We-
enough, but. Okay.
I don't know if you were in the room when we did the official notice that he was a member of the public for all intents and purposes, but visually speaking, just make sure you take a microphone with you. So,
Be ready. Okay, thank you, thank you.
but, all right. Any other comments before we move into public comment? All right, then we will start first. Is there anyone looking to speak in favor of the request?
That would be me.
All right. Sir, can you
Thank you.
please state your name and address for the record?
All right, my name is Alan Draybeck, and my address is 116455 Chesick Road, Edgar, Wisconsin.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, you may proceed with your comments.
All right. Well, first off, I was a little surprised that it turned out this way because I went to Dom originally, and I says, hey, can I do this? And he says, not a problem. And so we proceeded with everything to do. We went and got a soil test. We did the survey thing and all that because, well, everything was moving forward. So that's where, you know, now we're kind of stuck here. But anyway, what we, excuse me, we had, you know, originally thought of is there was a barn that burned down about 40 years ago on our property, and it's kind of a blighted area, and we thought it would be nice to clean that up. And we tried several times to do that, and the people didn't show up that were gonna run a backhoe or whatever. And so we thought, well, my wife and I, last couple of years, we discussed maybe building a house there. And so that's where this all started. And so, and we have a chance to help a family member, another family member out by letting them have our old house or use it and, or buy it or whatever. So that's kind of why we wanted to do this. So, all right, that's about it. Thank you. If there's any questions, I'll do the best I can.
Any questions for the applicant?
By the way, just so you know, we did tear down another building. There was 2 residences on this property when we moved in. So I want to make that perfectly. We actually have 2 addresses. I don't remember the other address, but we actually have 2 addresses for this property.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any questions from the committee for the applicant that is currently sworn in?
Supervisor Conway?
Supervisor Conway is recognized.
Just a question, if we do postpone that, is there going to be any detrimental effects as far as you can see?
May respond.
No, I don't think so. We're going to continue on what we're doing. And if it happens in 2 years where we have to tear down the old house or whatever, that's what we'll do. But we're continuing on with what we're doing. We're just trying to help our family out, you know, with the other part of it.
So if it takes another month or 2, it's not going to cost you anything extra or anything?
Probably not anymore than it already has.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we will consider your comments concluded. Are there any others wishing to speak in favor of this petition? We'll call one more time. Anyone else looking to speak in favor of this petition? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward into, is there anyone looking to speak that is in opposition to the petition? And I believe we have David Telshaw, is that?
That one? Okay.
All right, your name and address for the record once you get that microphone responding. They can be a little tricky.
All right.
Hi. Oh, come on in.
David Telshaw, 219-660 Butternut Road, Stratford.
Thank you, sir. And do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You may proceed.
All right. This was a bit of a unique situation for us as well. As my time on the board, we've never had a disapproval until this current time. The one thing that threw us off, like Dom said, was we have a 2-acre minimum in the township of Frankfurt. However, those that were minimum or below 2 acres prior to our ordinance of 2006, which we emailed over with Dom, but didn't get thrown up on the screen at all. It says, written from February 13th, 2006, an addendum motion by Gerald Borkhardt, seconded by Mike Siebold, to change the Town of Frankfurt Land Division ordinance minimum acreage to read 2 acres throughout by adding an addendum page. That's what our board based this decision off of. I know Alan just said that he did have 2 residents at this zoned lot at one point. However, that's not what he was requesting. He was requesting to go below our minimum acreage in the township, and that's why we went with this approval. So I'm here for any other questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions from committee members?
Supervisor Conway.
Supervisor Conway is recognized.
This is where I asked, like, why did you stick with 2 acres? Why not 1.5 acres?
That was before my time. Like I said, this happened in 2006. I joined the board in 2012. You asked about the low density, why we discourage against it. That actually could be excluded from this report because after we wrote that down, I called over to Shawano to talk to Towns Association, and they said anything that did not get carried over from our 2005 comprehensive plan to the new one would be null and void. So that can be off the record on that.
Okay. Any other questions for the speaker? Supervisor Langenhan.
Thank you, Chair. When did you email that ordinance over to Dom?
It came back with our disapproval.
Thank you.
And sorry to interrupt. I can pull that up if need be, if any of the committee members would like that to view that document.
Why don't you work on getting that up just so we've got it for reference during our deliberations? Thank you. All right. And while he's working on that, any other questions for the speaker? All right. Hearing none, are there any final comments? Nope. All right, then thank you very much for being here today. Good. All right, is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone else looking to speak in opposition to the application? All right, and one more time, anyone looking to speak in opposition? Hearing and seeing none. Final call for anyone looking to speak as interested may appear for general comments on this application. Again, anyone looking to speak as interested on this application?
I have one more question for the town chair.
For the town chair? Yes. All right. We will reopen you, continue to, your swearing in previously is still in effect.
Thank you, Chair. Have you had any discussions yet with either the applicant or the zoning administrator about possible alternatives for what's been submitted thus far?
We somewhat had discussions with Alan about alternatives. However, I don't know how zoning is against said discussions. So as far as the acreage lot sizes, that's where we're at right now. So
okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Then I will do one more call for anyone wishing to speak on this application. So, you wish to make, is committee all right with allowing Mr. Drabeck to make a final comment on this particular item? Is there any objections?
No.
All right. Hearing none, we'll let you speak once more.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just going to ask Dave, because I didn't, Dave Telshaw here, what other things that we discussed about that
well,
I know,
Alan, I
yeah.
can't have conversations between
Okay, that's fine.
those individuals.
I get it.
Yeah, so
All right.
we'll, there may be a chance for you guys to continue your conversation depending on how our deliberation here goes.
Okay, thank you.
But, all right. So one more call. Anyone looking to speak on this application? All right, if no one else wishes to testify, I am going to declare the public hearing on the Tim Weiland on behalf of Alan and Diane Drabeck closed. So the committee will now deliberate on this application and apply the standards of the zoning ordinance. And we have a request to speak from Supervisor Langenhan.
Thank you, Chair. One thing that I remember all the way back from when we had our training back in all the way 2014 from the Center for Land Use Education is to talk about any sort of correspondence we may have had with any applicants wishing to rezone. And I do recall, and I want to make sure this is into the record before any decision is made, Alan had called me back in August mentioning that a rezone would be coming up from himself and was wondering what the process would be. I did tell him to reach out to Corporation Counsel to see what steps would have to take place in order for the application to be submitted with him being on this committee. So again, me trying to be as transparent as possible. Thank you.
Appreciate the disclosure, and my understanding from comments made both during and prior to this meeting is that those conversations were had. Corporation Counsel was present earlier, and so my understanding is that there has been efforts on all parties' parts to be transparent considering the unique situation that we have here. So with that being established, are there any comments or questions regarding this particular application and the potential recommendations before us? And again, just to reiterate, due to the disapproval that was received by the town, we as a committee do not have the authority to make our usual recommendation to approve and move forward to county board as is. We can, if we wanted to, make a recommendation to approve with some kind of a specific change. Although I personally don't know that I've heard enough details to be able to make a recommendation for said change, but committee members are welcome to do so. Otherwise, the suggestion is to postpone a decision in order to allow the applicant and the town to continue discussions on what some alternative options could potentially be, and then bring it back to the committee at a future date. So I put it out to the committee for comments. Supervisor Langenhan.
I think given the precedent that we've had with other decisions that were parallel to this, where the town board disapproved, but the applicant had more information, or I shouldn't say had more information, but the applicant, submitted the application, paid the fee and everything. We've always been a group that wanted to provide more time to let the individuals discuss any potential alternatives. I myself would be open to postponing. I agree with you that approval with changes probably isn't a great alternative, solely because we have to be respectful of the town board who weighed in on their decision. So I would be very open to postponing.
All right, any other comments from supervisors or committee members?
Supervisor Conway?
Supervisor Conway is recognized.
Since we have the applicant there in the assembly room, to do an approval with change, would increasing the lot size to 2 acres, is that an option that you'd see, Mr. Drabeck, or is that just not what you'd want to do?
Well, right now, we're technically not in public comment,
Well, that's right.
Supervisor
He's not part of
So yeah, he,
right.
as strange as it is not to be able to bring him into this conversation, we do have to respect the rules of order. But
That's right. He's an outsider. I apologize.
That being said, we can direct questions to staff at this time. So if you wanted to see if staff is able to answer that, we could do that.
Yes. Okay. So, Adam or staff. So, could we send it to approve with change that you would go up to the 2 acre minimum from the town?
Yeah. So currently, based on the existing parent parcel itself, it isn't quite 4 acres in size. So therefore, if we were to change the lot 1 to be 2 acres, subsequently we would that would result in lot 2 dropping below the existing zoning district minimum. So in effect, we would be creating a violation with that. And if I may, I know as a part of possible discussions that might be had with the town and the applicant, I know there is the opportunity to potentially, it may not be feasible at this point, but look to acquire additional lands to be added to lot 1 to get 2 acres, and then that could be an approval with change in the future. Or look at, and this is definitely a town determination and decision, looking at their land division ordinance to see if there's anything they want to revise. Because I know in the amendments or amendum here, there was a reference to one of the old zoning districts, A1 and 1-2. So that might be something, depending on what the board stance is, that they might be able to consider taking a further look at.
Thank you. So it does sound like there are potential options for a resolution, but it's probably not one that we as a committee can unilaterally decide as a change today, seeing as how it could involve purchasing additional lands or other, making an exception to the town on the town's behalf. unless other committee members are seeing or hearing something I am not. So, are there any other questions or comments on this item? So if not, we do need to make a motion or a decision of some kind in order to conclude today. Supervisor Langenhan?
See, this is where Randy would always bail us out.
I know.
I would move that we, let me get to my agenda here. I would move that we postpone the Tim Vreeland on behalf of Alan Drabeck, rural residential to low-density residential, town of Frankfurt rezone.
So
Postpone a decision.
we have a recommendation for this committee to postpone our decision or our determination until a future meeting in order to give the applicant and the town additional time to discuss a solution.
That is consistent with my motion.
All right, do we have a second to that motion? Supervisor Seefeld has seconded the motion. One final call for comments related to the motion as it is on the floor. All right, hearing and seeing none, all in favor of the motion to postpone, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The recommendation is to postpone a decision until the applicant and the town have an opportunity to work with our CPC staff in order to come up with a solution that can be approved by both parties. So we look forward to seeing you here again soon. And with that, I am going to welcome Supervisor Drabeck back to the table because we have concluded the item that he stepped away for. And I am also going to pass the baton, so to speak, off to the official chair of the ERC, Supervisor Langenhan. You are welcome to resume the role of Chair Langenhan.
Oh, thank you, Supervisor Guild. I apologize. I had a staff meeting that went a little longer than I anticipated. So let's go to 4B, review and possible recommendation to county board for its. Boy, you guys got through a lot before I got here. 4C, review and possible recommendation to county board for its consideration, none. D, review and possible action, update to resolution enabling CPC to apply for soil and water resource management grants.
So this is Paul Daigle. Before you is a resolution, and really it's an update to one that's much needed. We have on file since February 2014. In it, the old one basically allowed the county conservationist, or at that time the Land and Water Program Director, to apply for grants on behalf of the department, and it was specific to the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection. So this is a similar request to enable the county conservationists to do those duties, but it also expands them to the Wisconsin DNR, as well as the current Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection, and the Natural Resources Conservation Service. And by approving this resolution, it'll be a more efficient process for grant application and administration, and also allow for this committee, rather than bringing all those items to the committee for approval, it would allow you to focus on more policy-oriented work rather than more administrative tasks, and understand all the grants we apply for are consistent with our land and water plan.
Okay, are there any questions for Paul? If not, motion to approve, I believe, would be in order. Supervisor Drabeck. Supervisor Drabeck moves to approve. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Guild. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. 5, educational presentations, outcome monitoring, reports, and committee discussion. Department updates, CPZ, Park Rec Forestry, Solid Waste. For CPZ, 1, update on Fenwood Creek funding request.
So we continue to seek funds for the Fenwood project. That's our #1 priority in the plan. And really the only update, I think, perhaps Lori, kind of surprising a little bit, but we did submit with our annual budget request, basically a special request to the county administrator. And if you want more details on that, I believe Lori could be a better one to describe that, or maybe you want a little detail on it.
Yeah, so it was listed in our annual budget request for CPZ that went to the administrator, but for now, he is tabling some of the special requests until further in the year, so I don't believe it'll move forward in the annual request that'll go before the board this month, so. But he's collecting a list, shall we say, in case for bringing forth to the board at a future date, so.
And that's all on the Fenwood.
So I guess I have a follow-up to that one. Is that the policy that the administrators adopted in regards to pursuing, departments pursuing projects with ARPA funds?
Sorry, what Paul was referring to, so we were asked to prepare a memo for the ARPA request, and he does have that, and I think he will be bringing that forth based on the schedule that's been put out by the HR and Finance Committee for the Fenwood. But we also just made a note in our write-up for our annual budget request that at some point we may be seeking special funds for the Fenwood, depending on what happens with the ARPA request.
Okay.
So no request in our annual budget for Fenwood is going forward at this time. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? All right, seeing none. Moving on. 5A2, progress on river and lake projects, aquatic invasive plants, restorations, and future goals. Jared Mater and Chris Hamrilla. If I butchered those, I apologize.
So this is Paul. I'll start with the introductions. First of all, our new water resources technician, and I know he just approved this position in August, and here he is giving a progress report already. But we expect a lot out of Jared. But he's a fine young addition to our CPZ staff, and he actually started in May of 2020 in a limited term position. And we were able to make him full-time in August, which we're quite pleased with. And he's been working on some of the priorities in the land and water plan related to lakes already. And along with Chris Hamrilla, who is with the Golden Sands RC&D, and I believe you're aware that Marathon County contracts with that nonprofit to do aquatic invasive work in the county. And I asked both these gentlemen to prepare a 15 to 20-minute educational presentation to you to really cover the past and future efforts of some of these items as it relates to our land and water plan. And one thing, and I believe Preston is kind of monitoring this for us, I did invite some of our lake leaders, and they may be online either by phone or WebEx, and I'm not sure. And but if there's any questions for those folks that support this part of our land and water plan, they may be in attendance as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jared and Chris.
Thanks, Paul. Can everybody hear me all right? So as Paul said, I'm Jared Motter, the Water Resources Technician for Marathon County. My contact information is on the screen right now. Basically, my position is the overall goal is just to improve water quality. This is done through restoration of riparian areas, promoting better management practices on upland areas, providing technical assistance to riparian owners, and repairing and restoring damaged wetlands. So everything we're doing is trying to prevent scenes like this from across the county. So some of the past projects that have been done through my position, individual properties like stormwater management plans, revegetation and restoration plans, public demonstration sites like the one shown here at DC Everest County Park, and then help with the lake management plans. Here's an example of one of the more recent success stories we had with a revegetation plan. As you can see, it went from a pretty bare, unstabilized, steep shoreline to a fully vegetated in just one growing season, which is pretty cool. Some of our public demonstration sites, there's one at Lake DeBay Lions Park down on Lake DeBay in Knowlton, and that one was completed, I believe, in 2018. And then one of our more recent ones that we completed this spring was at DC Everest County Park. And there's members of the Wausau Bird Club, one of the groups that works with us, helping plant that day. As I said, we also help with the lake management plans, especially with the Eastern Lake groups. Our big goal is to make sure that they have the resources and anything else they may need to try and implement the goals that they have for their plans. Here's some of the groups that we partner with. Groups like EPIC, WVIC, BEPCO, which is the Big O Plains Citizens Organization, Pheasants Forever, Wausau Bird Club, Eastern Lakes Group, and who you'll be hearing from later, Chris Hamrilla at Golden Sands. And now this last year with COVID complications, we didn't necessarily complete as many projects as we may have liked, but moving forward, we're a little more optimistic that we'll be able to complete more of those projects, and a lot of those projects are tied right into the objectives of the Land and Water Plan. So for Objective 2.2, one of the strategies is develop and support a coalition of stakeholders to develop and implement action plans to reduce phosphorus loading. So one of the main projects we're going to be working on is creating a community group that will help out Lake Wausau, and the plan for this group is to bring together members from Rothschild, Schofield, and the City of Wausau, all into one group that's aiming to improve water quality. They have a really good plan. We just have to implement different strategies to achieve those goals. And then also continue to provide support to BEPCO. They also have a good plan for reducing phosphorus loading. Objective 2.3, conduct a riparian zone qualitative land cover analysis for watersheds in the county. Right now we're focusing on the Fenwood. That's kind of the poster child, if you will, for the county. Within that watershed-wide inventory, we're going to look at all the buffers for all the tributaries and to determine what areas are identified as problem areas that need to be restored. And then through that inventory, we'll target those parcels and try to promote better management practices. Jumping back to Objective 2.2, all surface waters include intermittent streams, and existing wetlands will have a 35-foot tillage setback, pretty similar to what I just mentioned, targeting those areas that we discover in the inventory, and then working with groups like EPIC that already have a really good relationship with a lot of those farmers and trying to implement better management practices and really working towards getting a 35-foot tillage setback to all those tributaries. Objective 2.3, promote conservation easements programs along riparian corridors. And with this, we're looking to promote not necessarily our own programs and practices, but other agencies' programs like CRP and CREP. They have very good programs that are underutilized at this point, and I think with more promotion and more education, we'll be able to administer and help people apply for those types of programs. 2.3, once again, develop and recommend a 35-foot buffer. Big thing on this one is educating farmers on loss of production in some of those marginal lands. A lot of those lands that are classified as wetlands or close to wetlands, the production there is not as good as your higher quality lands. And if we can promote leaving those areas in buffers, we can hopefully educate them on using better management practices. Support the development of lake and river management plans. Similar to what I said before, helping create that group for Lake Wausau, continuing our work with the Eastern Lakes groups and BEPCO, and also providing assistance to any other groups that wish to start a management plan, or individuals who wish to do individual projects on their property. We can help them apply for possible cost sharing through different groups, because usually they need some sort of sponsorship, and the county can be a sponsor for different groups like that. 2.5, coordinate water quality testing with groups like WVIC. Currently, we are working with a group called Discovery Farms through UW to do some edge of field water quality monitoring, and that's what this map is on the right. It's a watershed of a particular field. So that'll give us a better idea of what kind of nutrient loading we're seeing and sediment loading off of some of the, excuse me, some of the fields in the watershed. And along with that, we are planning on doing more extensive sampling of the Fenwood Creek to determine if we are moving in the right direction with our nutrient loading of that stream. And then finally, we're going to continue to do just general technical assistance with private shoreland owners and any riparian owner that wish to, have help with plans, whether that be restoration, revegetation, stormwater management. Just a resource for anybody that's looking for ways to improve their shoreline or their riparian lands. So that's pretty much all I have, just a quick rundown of what we've been doing. If there's anything in the future, anything specific that you guys are looking to learn more about, let me know and we can put something else together. But in the meantime, that's what I have. Now I'll introduce Chris Hamrilla from Golden Sands.
How do I move forward? Thank you. So my name is Chris Hamrilla. I'm with Golden Sands Resource Conservation and Development based out of Stevens Point. I'm your Regional Aquatic Invasive Species Coordinator. I cover Marathon County as well as Taylor, Portage, and moving further south. The work that Golden Sands does, or particularly myself with aquatic invasive species, blends in with a lot of the stuff that Jared's working on as well. He mentioned 2.3. We also assist lake groups with lake management planning and aquatic plant management planning. But most specifically, the objective 2.5, the management of stream resources and protecting, improving the water quality and habitat. As Jared mentioned, most of your work, or his work, is dealing with the shoreline, whereas I start to move into the water. So not only is it important to look at runoff and your shorelines, but also what's in the lake. So whether it's invasive species and managing those populations, and improving the native populations, but also in educating residents on programs they can do at the boat landings, whether it's clean boats, clean waters, helping to prevent the spread of invasive species. Again, technical assistance with aquatic invasive species management in their lake, or lake management planning, or aquatic plant management planning. Also offering citizen lake monitoring trainings for water testing if citizens want to do phosphorus or water clarity testing within their lake. Also training citizens on purple loosestrife biocontrol. Purple loosestrife is a major wetland invasive species in Marathon County and along our roadsides. So those are trainings we also offer. Strategy to continue to mitigate aquatic invasive species by supporting DNR projects and goals, as outlined in the County AIS Network Partnership Agreement. Do a lot of press releases, television interviews. Been very fortunate to have a really good partnership with the local TV stations and getting information out to the community and partners on preventing the spread of invasive species, specifically different user groups, not only through our lake groups, but also some of our sporting groups, waterfowl hunters, fur bearers, other entities like that. I've also been able to partner with Marathon County in some removal and trainings, specifically Wadley Lake for Eurasian water milfoil. A couple of years ago, the Barker Stewart Island buckthorn removal, and working with the Bird Club on that project as well. As working 13 years, we have done buckthorn and honeysuckle removal on the Fern Island area down there, and also with the Wausau East High School on their property. As well as partnering with Marathon County and some Japanese knotweed outreach that we've done to riparian owners on Lake Wausau. Some of the past projects that we've been able to work on with the competitive grant funding that we were able to get was a lot of the early detection surveys and point intercept surveys, which are aquatic plant surveys on lakes. Pictured down below that you can see right now also is working with volunteers at the Mead Wildlife Area doing outreach to and education to waterfowl hunters on cleaning their gear to prevent the spread of invasive species. I mentioned doing the early detection surveys and plant surveys on lakes, but also getting on lakes with the owners of property around there to teach them about the aquatic plants and invasive species monitoring on their lakes. And again, finally, water quality and point intercept surveys. Not only do we work with residents around the lakes, but also making sure that we're partnering with entities like WVIC, Wisconsin Valley Improvement Corporation, whether it's on their goals or during drawdowns where we can actually go out and monitor for native mussel populations or invasive species populations, like we were able to do in 2017 on Lake Wassa, and then I believe it was 2 years ago or a year ago when they did the drawdown of the Wassa Dam, so the upper reaches. And again, just making sure to partner with these various groups, whether it's Wisconsin Public Service. I've been helping them out doing purple loosestrife surveys and invasive species surveys on our waterways, specifically Lake Wassa and the Wassa Dam area, as well as WIVC and Marathon County and the DNR. So we appreciate your support in Marathon County, and we look to continue doing that and assisting with communicating with the riparian owners, not only on the invasive species projects, but also on the shoreline projects, because they both mesh very well in keeping our waters healthy. With that, you had my contact information available, otherwise can be reached through talking with Jared. Thank you for your time.
Any questions for either of our presenters? I've got just one. We talked about, or you talked a little bit about the role that partnering with local organizations, how that's important to the work that's done. What are sort of some of the main methods that you use for outreach?
Sure. The question was, what were the main methods of outreach that we use? A lot of it is through press releases. A lot of times, if we're able to get those radio or television, of course, that reaches a broad base. Right on the landscape, it's a lot of times making sure that we're available to attend lake association meetings, sportsman group meetings, things like that. And then from there, where the interest comes in is if you're called back and people are interested in getting trained. But initially, it's just getting that face-to-face outreach at those meetings, informing people of who you are and what you're available to work with them on, and then getting that interest going.
Jacob, if I can, one of the main ways that the department, and Jared was part of this is, trying to put some of these social media posts together, and that Jared was instrumental in putting that video together that you saw last month on the Fenwood, and but also really working through that O'Plain Partnership Group and as well as our Eastern Lakes Group, and we actually happened to have on John Bloom, who was instrumental in getting our first lake plans. He's listening to the meeting right now, and John Kennedy from the Big O'Plain Citizen Organization, and both those folks have been huge in really getting lake and river planning and shoreline buffers and aquatic invasives kind of to the forefront at land conservation or our activities here in the county.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, Jared, Chris, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Really enjoyed the presentation. All right, moving on. We've got 5A3, strategic plan progress discussion, and we have the distinct pleasure of having Vice Chair Craig McEwen here with us. Craig, how you doing?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I made sure I had my mic turned on before I was going to talk because there's no instructions on here, so I think we're going to need to print some instructions. But anyways, thank you, Mr. Chair, and the rest of the ERC committee and staff. I'm going to be referring to the strategic plan. I hope all the members have copies of their strategic plan because I'm going to be referring to it through the update. So just basically what I wanted to do today was touch base with the ERC committee to review the objectives that the ERC committee is the lead committee and support committee in our 2018-2022 strategic plan. And I know your meeting on 3/30 of 21, your staff had a template that was updated with the progress as far as the implementation of the strategic plan so far. It's very easy to follow, and I'm recommending that the other standing committees attempt to use this template also. But the first objective that the ERC committee is the lead committee on is objective 5.2. And that reads to promote sound land use decisions that conserve and preserve natural resources in decisions with economic development and growth. That objective has 6 strategies that's listed at the top of the strategic plan for this objective. I'm not going to read over those 6, but what I do want to touch base on is the outcome measures that are at the bottom of this page for 5.2. And the first outcome measure states by December 31st, 2022, phosphorus from cropland and farm sheds in Fenwood Creek watershed will be reduced by 20% or 14,016 pounds. And on the bottom of that, it says baseline was 70,080 pounds in 2018. So I don't know where that stands at this point, but like I said, those are things that we're starting to look at because we have one more year, and then this strategic plan is going to have to be updated. The second outcome measure is by December 31st, 2022, 4 or more additional townships will adopt Marathon County zoning code, and that's from a baseline of 18 of the 40 townships in 2018. And then the third outcome measure is by December 31st, 2022, an average of 320 acres of land per year will be acquired for Marathon County parks and forest systems. So we're getting to, like I said, the next year will be our last year, and actually the term of this committee will be done in April of 2022 or March, depending on when the meetings are. So if those things are going to need to be updated, some of them might already have been met. Some of them may have to be changed or for the new strategic plan, because we are going to have to adopt a new one after 2022. So is there any questions on 5.2 as far as the outcome measures? But like I said, I would ask that you review the strategies. It goes through 6 strategies that can be used. And if there's other strategies that the committee feels they can use or change, great, those could probably help with some of the other objectives that we have. So just because there's 6 strategies there doesn't mean that you can't implement other strategies or use other strategies that would help with the strategic plan. The next objective that ERC is a lead committee on is 6.3, protect and enhance the quantity and quality of potable groundwater and potable surface water supplies. And that has 5 strategies on the top of that, 6.3, and also has 3 outcome measures below that, and they read, list by December 31st, 2022, Marathon County Board of Supervisors will adopt a groundwater protection plan that provides stated outcomes measures of groundwater quality and quantity. And it has a baseline of 2001 groundwater protection plan, which was apparently the last time that was conducted. The second strategy, outcome strategies, by December 31st, 2022, the number of private on-site wastewater treatment plants, POUTs, discharge sewage sewage to the ground surface will be reduced by 750 systems or more. And the baseline has 1,250 systems in 2018. The third outcome measures by December 31st, 2021, discharge of animal waste and surface and groundwater will be reduced by ensuring all idle animal waste facilities are closed in compliance with ordinances and requirements, and that's based on 40 animal waste site facilities. So the thing that I guess is really important now is that the committees start looking at policies that can help implement the strategic plan and some of these outcome measures before the end of our term, which would, like I say, be in April of 2022. There is a lead, you're the lead committee on those two, but 12.1, I believe all committees are basically a support committee for that. And that 12.3 is to promote cost-effective public services. So some of the policies that the ERC committee is looking at or reviewing, could help, of course, offer, public services and some cost savings to Marathon County. So I guess the last thing I just want to leave with the committee is again to look at those outcome measures, see if any of those need to be updated, changed, or like I said, some of them may have to be moved past the 2022. And then, like I said, just think of policies till that we really don't have another year with this committee. It'll be, like I said, April of 2022 with this committee. So look at policies that could help with the implementation of the strategic plan. So are there any questions or comments from the committee?
Any questions? Supervisor Guild.
So while Supervisor McEwen has been talking, I had the benefit of knowing where the last update that this committee did was in my email from you sharing it with me again recently. We've got a great document that staff has been keeping up to date, and I think it sounds like it's time to get a new update on that. I know just taking a glance, the last time that the one that I have was through December of 2020. And so there were 2 years left at that time, and we were making progress on a number of these. So I'd like to request that in either our November or December meeting, that we get an update on this so that we know heading into 2022, exactly what he said, not only where we're having successes, but it also is time to start identifying some potential carryovers and some that potentially need to be maybe replaced with other options. So.
Sure, and to add on to that, I mean, the adoption of the land and water plan was a pretty big one.
It was.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's one that hasn't been updated in that document. Go ahead, Greg.
I just want to thank Supervisor Gill for that. I know that Administrator Leonard updated that up to, I think, in November of 2019, which was, it came out in 2020, but there was an actual, he did an update. It's online. I don't have a hard copy of it, but I believe he sent it to all the committee chairs. I believe it was in November that he had sent it out. But that does help, and it's very easy to follow as far as progress on different areas that various committees have made on different objectives. So thank you.
Other questions, comments? I guess, Craig, my question is that if we get to the point where changes do need to be made, do those changes have to take place in the next term, or how does that process work?
I believe that they could be made in this term yet, but as far as the outcome measures, those could be changed anytime, especially if they've been accomplished or they need to be moved, further down the line. That would be certainly okay. As far as the updates, I don't know how that works with the strategic plan, but it's good through. That's why the outcome measures are December 31st of 2022. As far as that, but any suggestions, can be considered. That would help change that. I don't know what the exact policy is with it as far as doing that. I can check with the administrator and see, but that's a good question.
And a follow-up to that is that I know there was a work group for the previous strategic plan. Would that work group convene again in the 22-24 term?
Yeah, I would believe so, because there may be new supervisors, and so I'm assuming that it would be the 2022-2027 comp plan or strategic plan would consist of a new committee, and there may be some supervisors that were. I know I was on the committee when the 2018-2022 was done, but there's some supervisors aren't no longer on the board. So I'm sure there's going to be a new committee formed for that.
Okay, thank you. Other questions, comments? Otherwise, Supervisor Guild, I'll make note of that. We'll try and pick the better of the two evils between November and December, depending on our workload for those months, and we'll have a discussion then. So, okay. Craig, anything else to add?
Nope. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you for stopping by. Okay. Now I got to get back to where I was. Here we go. 6, policy issues, discussion, committee determination to the county board for its consideration. We have none. 7, next meeting, November 2nd, 2021, 3 p.m., assembly room, and future agenda items. A, committee members are asked to bring ideas for future discussion. B, announcements, requests, correspondence. Do we have anything? Okay, very good. I'd entertain a motion for number 8. Motion by Supervisor Seefeld. Second by Supervisor Drabek. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everybody in person and online, for joining us today. Have a great evening.
This meeting is no longer being recorded.
This right here.